You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
And we've had so much fun this year, we're playing two tonight. Hello everyone, welcome to Hill Kelly High School Hoops and welcome to the Ann Caro Suarez Gym at Pine Forest High School. Tonight, a doubleheader. The boys and girls game, starting with the girls tonight, the Pine Forest Eagles and the Pensacola High Tigers. It's historically, certainly in recent history, a great rivalry, and it has been a rivalry refreshed this year by the return of Coach Chris Godwin at the sideline at Pine Forest High School. She's back. She retired after winning a state championship in 2015. She is back, has taken over a young team, and they take on Pensacola High. Allison Davis, who has built that dynasty over Pensacola High. Dan Shugart along with Tommy Thrall, and we are delighted to be here for two.
Yeah, it should be a fun day of basketball because I think you've got two really good teams on both sides of each matchup. So this first girls game is going to be really exciting. You talked about how much progress they have made, Pine Forest being under Chris Godwin and her return. They're playing great basketball. PHS, a little bit up and down. Of course, they've been mostly up here as things have rolled around. They kind of got a wake-up call early in the season, and since the game against Henry County, they have just been on fire.
Pensacola High comes into the game with a 16-3 record. They are 8-1 in district play. Chris Godwin's Pine Forest team, 13-5. They are 6-3 in district play. They're coming off an upset loss last night in Mobile, losing to Faith Academy. Godwin said, "We just did not play very well last night." Pensacola High, as you mentioned, Allison Davis won a state championship in '97 and has had just a juggernaut year in and year out. They had a lot of rebuilding to do at the start of the year, lost all 5 starters, including Milena White, who went off to Memphis University. And so they had all sorts of questions at the start of the year, as did Pine Forest under Chris Godwin.
Well, and that's interesting because when you lose 5 starters, you don't expect the team to say their strength is leadership after something like that. But when we talked to them earlier this week, that's what they said. They've got 2 seniors. They both kind of lead this team. They learned a little bit how to be leaders last year, although not necessarily realizing that as the season went on that would be their role. But they've grown into that. Meanwhile, for Pine Forest, when you talk about their youth, their leader is a freshman.
Yeah. Well, she's a Purifoy.
Right.
And they have a long line of great Purifoys who Chris Godwin is accustomed to. Ty Purifoy was a senior guard, about 5 feet tall, who led them to the state championship 2015. And her little sister, Tanija Purifoy, although nobody, we are told, knows her by that name. She is Little Mama. And she wears a number 10, and she leads the show. 5 feet tall, freshman guard for Pine Forest, and she certainly does not play like a freshman, but she is a leader. You were talking about the leader stepping forward for Allison Davis and for Pensacola High. Joy Singer, another 5 foot tall guard. She is a senior, can really shoot it, and just very mature, very solid, and she, along with Janiah Hall, who wears number 15, a 5'9" senior inside player, a post player. Those two both very intelligent players, very intelligent students, and really had to pick up the slack with leadership. You said the leadership's been a strength. It became a strength with this team.
And that was exactly right. You mentioned their maturity. We talked to both of them, and you know, typically we talk to the coach first, might talk to a couple of players, but we talked to the players first. And when they walked away, we both looked at each other and went, wow, those are 2 really impressive young women. And they blew our socks off with just how mature they were and really just both very intelligent. They've got bright futures, basketball aside, and it's no surprise that they're 2 really strong leaders of this team.
Both going into sports medicine or at this point. Who knows? Who sticks to what they say they're going to go to coming out of high school. Pine Forest and Pensacola High on the court, warming up about 3 minutes away from starting introductions. We are going to take a break, and we will be back. First game of a doubleheader. Pine Forest and Pensacola High, the Eagles and Tigers on Hill Kelly High School Hoops.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
Teams finishing up their warm-ups for the first game of our doubleheader here. The girls and the boys here at Pine Forest High School, Pensacola High and Pine Forest, a doubleheader. Pine Forest and PHS in the first game. Pine Forest girls are 13-5, and PHS 16-3. We mentioned Pine Forest fell to Faith Academy, but really we learned a lot. Chris Godwin with her young team, not a senior in the lineup at all. I mean, they have 10 players and 2 freshmen and 4 sophomores, so very, very young team. But they suffered a really heartbreaking loss to a very good Washington team when Jayla Roberts threw it in from beyond midcourt to beat them by 1. They had Washington beaten, and that was probably a telltale game, even though they didn't win it. There you see Allison Davis with the Pensacola High huddle right there as they are getting ready to play as well.
And you learn a lot about your team and how they bounce back from something like that. If you bounce back, you show some resolve, you can really grow from that.
All right, we'll be back with the starting lineups, PHS and Pine Forest, after this.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
Starting lineups being introduced here at Pine Forest High School, the Ann Suarez Gymnasium. Pensacola High Fighting Tigers will start these 5. Joy Singer, number 4, a 5-foot senior guard. Shakira Miller wears number 5. She's a 5'9" junior center. Nala Baker, 5'6" junior. She's a transfer from Charles Henderson High School in Troy, Alabama, where she won a state championship last year. She's a terrific player. Wears number 11. Janiah Hall, 5'9" senior, who averages 8 points, 4.5 rebounds. One of the 2 seniors we talked to this week. And Joniah Perry wears number 35. She's a 5'6" sophomore. Nine-Eye, they call her, averaging 11 points a game. Pine Forest will start Little Mama Purifoy, Tamaja Purifoy, 5-foot freshman. Carlicio Santiago, Carly Santiago, number 12, 3rd year as a starter, 5-foot junior. Tanaya Barnes wears number 14, also starting, 5'5" sophomore. Jadacia Young, 22. She's a 5'3" junior. And Danielle Lucky wearing number 23, a 5'11" sophomore inside player whose brother played at Pensacola High. So 2 teams, 2 programs, 2 coaches certainly know each other very well. Chris Godwin right there giving her final instructions to her Pine Forest Eagles.
Well, they both, know each other really well, and, the thing that we kind of noticed in watching them interact, it seems like they really have a lot of genuine respect for each other, and how could you not? 2 really good programs and 2 coaches that have been in this area for a long, long time.
2 coaches who have won state championships. About the Michelle Snow, the great PHS team, which won 1 and came very close to winning a 2nd back in the mid to late 90s. And then, of course, Pine Forest. Chris Godwin reached 2 Final Fours as a player for Ronnie and Janice Bond at Washington High. Reached 2 Final Fours, and then she led Woodham to a Final Four as a coach, and then she led Pine Forest to 3 Final Fours before she went to a 4th and finally won the state championship in 2015. So we're underway. Pensacola High in the Road Maroon, starting with the possession, and that's Nala Baker, number 11, out front. And then there's Perry throwing up the short jumper on the boards. That's Janiah Hall, and she can't get it to go. Inside again, Hall. That time it's blocked by Danielle Lucky. Lucky, the sophomore forward. She puts it down, and now Pine Forest comes up with it.
Great block from behind by Lucky.
Long 3 on the way, and good by Purifoy, making her presence felt early.
Pretty good shot there. Good open look early. You can't afford to leave her open.
It's Singer, and it's out front to Miller. Down low, Singer inside, and she needs a roll and gets it.
Well, they got 3 chances their first trip down the floor. Couldn't capitalize, but did a nice job. Got a better look that time, and they were able to get one to fall.
In the full court pressure, and Singer deflects it, and out of bounds it goes to Pensacola High. Will get it. They do force the turnover.
Oh, nice job by Singer. Good defense there. Batted that one away, and they end up getting the basketball. It's just good aggressive defense right there.
It's Carly Santiago guarding Singer as they go man-to-man now. And Baker, or rather, Nala Baker gets the basket.
Boy, that was a really nice take there. just let it roll in. And PHS coming out with some pressure here early in the full court.
And that is how they will play, and that's how they played for a long time, and forcing a second turnover.
And that's why they do it.
Coming up with a loose ball there was Janiah Hall.
That's something where PHS can afford to do that. They have a little bit of depth on this team. Pine Forest not exactly with the same depth, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays a factor in this game.
Miller and Hall got their signals crossed. Hall was stepping out. Miller threw it to the low post. And so the Tigers turn it over. Pine Forest trying to inbound it, but it's stolen by Baker.
3 straight possessions, 3 straight turnovers.
Jadacia Young's one who could not handle that inbound pass. That is Hall. Janiah Hall hands it to Nala Baker. Baker with a drive, and that's blocked again. A couple of blocks now for Danielle Lucky, number 23, the sophomore.
She makes things tough down there. Some good size, good length.
Singer pulls that one in. Baker. Perry took that shot a moment ago, not this time. This time dumps it down low, then fights for the loose ball. And kicks it back out front. They'll reset.
Good decision.
Janiah Hall takes it. There's a whistle and a foul. Perhaps before the shot. The foul was called on Carly Santiago. Reaching in. Our officials from the Miracle Strip Officials Association. The referee is Troy Robinson, Tim DeBruler, and Thomas Young working with him. And a traveling violation and another turnover.
Well, Pine Forest has gone 3 straight possessions with a turnover. They've got to take care of the basketball here.
And they will split it. Purifoy does, but they can't convert. Purifoy did everything, deliver the ball, but Tania Barnes couldn't cash in.
Well, you need to take care of the basketball. Looks like Purifoy is the player to do that. Great job to get up the court through the pressure. They got the look they wanted, just couldn't finish.
Inbound pass was batted out by Shakira Miller. Pine Forest now gets it back into Santiago. She was leading scorer last year, loses it. Singer. And then Santiago pokes it away. Almost coming up with a turnover. If Jadacia Young could have gotten there a moment sooner, she might have come up with it. Santiago, this is an offensive foul on Singer as she fended off the defender, Santiago, with the left arm.
Well, we'll see if we get another look at it here on the replay, because as soon as the whistle blew, felt like she had extended that arm just a little bit. Not a ton, just enough to get that call. Usually
you get a warning, and she may have gotten a warning on that earlier. Again, she's 5 feet tall, and undersized guards sometimes will have a tendency to maybe ask for a little bit extra or try to buy a little extra protection that way. Purifoy will inbound against man-to-man defense. Lucky kicks it out. Long 3 on the way and good.
Well, if they can keep knocking down threes like that, Purifoy with 1 and now Young, they're going to stay in this ball game that way.
And get another turnover. 6-4 Pine Forest with a 2-point lead. This time it's Santiago. Their problem on offense is they've been trying to work it in too much.
Turns out, keep working around the perimeter if that's the hot hand. And right now, they've all got the hot hand.
And that foul is on Jadacia Young, her first. Nala Baker gets by some space, and on the offensive boards and converting, that is Miller. Shakira Miller gets the basket on the offensive boards. 9-6 ball game now.
Some tempo in this thing here.
Ball knocked loose. Stolen again.
Boy, both teams just tenacious defensively, aren't they?
Taking it in. Perry, that ball's knocked loose in the scramble. And I thought for a second that Miller was going to take that shot, but that's not her shot.
No, she sure looked tempted, though, didn't she?
Singer off the mark and out of bounds.
She would have got that little runner. If she would have got that little runner to go, you start getting that to fall. That's a dangerous weapon to have in your arsenal. It was well off the mark. That was an unforced turnover.
Harry can't get it to go. Lucky with a rebound, and she looked for the outlet, and finally Santiago came over to meet her. Purifoy thought about the three. Lucky on the boards. Good ball movement. Santiago takes it again and scores.
Well, there's that runner. This time on the other end, Pine Forest with Santiago able to get that to fall. Tough shot to defend. That was a great look.
Pine Forest with a 5-point lead. Boy, for all their struggles early, turning it over to the first few possessions, they have really righted the ship here, and hitting a couple of threes seem to have given them a lot of confidence in other aspects of the offense.
Gonna say 3 trays will certainly go a long ways in keeping a game and overcoming some turnovers.
Timeout on the floor. So we'll see. Yeah, it's not an official timeout. The officials are calling it because there apparently is a question on the scoreboard or the clock. And they have that resolved quickly, and here we go again. Nala Baker traveled.
I was going to say she almost traveled there, and then that's exactly what the call was. So take a look. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to call it a European step, but I'm not sure that continent would cover it. Three-pointer again. That time is Purifoy.
They only have 1, 2.
Exactly.
4 threes and then 1 layup.
It's 14-6, 8-point lead. There's a three-pointer by Baker. Pressure and inbounded to Jadesha Young. And hands it to Purifoy. Finds her inside and converting this time.
Well,
is Tanaya Barnes.
What made that play so good is Purifoy was already looking under the basket. She was way out away from it, but a good find down low.
Baker converts after picking up the loose ball. Boy, there's some action in this first quarter. 16-11, 5-point Pine Forest lead, but again, working against that full court pressure. And a timeout and a 30-second timeout taken by Pine Forest. So we'll go ahead and keep it right here, because it's a short timeout. So we'll take a full timeout. We will take a full timeout. So timeout on the court, 2:46 to go first quarter. It's 16-11 Pine Forest here on Hill Kelly High School Hoops.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
Pine Forest has weathered an early storm of turnovers and has taken a 5-point lead over PHS. PHS still at full court pressure, but now falling back, and Purifoy, the freshman, loses the handle.
Well, she lost the handle on that dribble, but a lot of that had to do with the pressure from Nala Baker. She was all over. Great defense by Baker, kind of helping to force that turnover.
Baker, we mentioned, transferred from Troy, her family, a military family, and she played for a state champion last year in Alabama, and Charles Henderson. And she, in the state championship game, had 5 steals, and now launches the three. That look any good?
Not
she has
too
10.
bad. And 2 of those made buckets from beyond the arc. It's a great shot. She's a good ball player.
Purifoy again breaks the press and getting the roll. is Tania Barnes. So PHS holding him at bay. Yeah, they give one away there. There's Amani Wiggins, who's just checked into the ball game, gets the basket after the missed steal attempt.
Well, some coaches will tell you that's why they don't necessarily like to press, because if a player makes a move and misses, it can lead to an open bucket.
I know one coach who says that is Ty McCants, the Pine Forest boys coach, said we're not going to gamble defensively. Another three on the way from the corner.
This is entertaining right now, isn't it?
That's Jadeja Young with another three. 21-15. And a traveling violation on PHS.
That was just Shakira leaving her feet, then came down before she got rid of the pass.
Destiny Ladd checks into the game for Pine Forest, giving Danielle Lucky a breather.
Yeah, that's 5 made threes. They have 3 non-threes. So just 3 2-point buckets, 5 3-point shots that have gone down already for Pine Forest.
What do they say? The worst shot attempt in basketball is the long two. And they might as well step in and a foul before the shot attempt.
That's just another example of what Purifoy can do. I mean, she made a really aggressive take to the basket right there, drew the contact to try to get the line. She won't. They'll say the foul was on the floor, but still a good take to draw the foul.
Another three, might as well. That one's off the mark.
I mean, you got to keep shooting them until they don't go, don't you?
The key is to know when they're not going anymore. Singer to Baker. That's a three. And a flat-footed rebound pulled down by House, Makivia House, just into the ball game as well. You mentioned Pensacola High a little deeper than Pine Forest. Pine Forest really plays about 7. They'll play more players than that, but that's the main rotation. Wiggins. Rebound over the back and rebounding foul called on Hall. Janiyah Hall commits the foul. We have her for 1. On an 80-point pace is Pine Forest tonight.
Surely that can't keep up, right?
Well, I don't think you're hitting 5 threes every quarter, if you're asking me.
If they do, this is going to be a wild game of basketball.
Wow, that was Barnes had Ladd, but passed down around her ankles.
Yep. Tried the bounce pass, it just stayed down and skipped right on by.
So final 30 seconds, 24.8 here. Substitution for PHS into the game is Sophia Litchfield. Wears number 23. She's a 5'11 freshman. A really promising talent. Number 23. Singer throws away in good anticipation and the steal. And Young can't get it to go, and the rebound knocked out of bounds. It'll stay with Pine Forest with 5 seconds to go. So 5-point lead for Pine Forest, and anticipating getting the final shot of the first quarter. Inbound to Destiny Ladd. Boy, they left her alone. So defensive lapse by PHS. Ladd gets the last basket of the first quarter, and a great first quarter it was, especially for Pine Forest. The Eagles take a 23-16 lead after 8 minutes on Hill Kelly High School Hoops. Well, we have 8 action-packed minutes already in the books. 23-16 Pine Forest with the 7-point lead over PHS. Santiago with the ball out front, man-to-man defense guarded by Singer. And that ball knocked loose, but it goes to Purifoy, who will settle things down for the moment. Santiago's open for 3, that's off the mark, and the rebound comes off to the PHS freshman, Litchfield, Sophia Litchfield. Perry dishes over to Baker, who had a big first quarter, and the rebound comes off to Lucky.
7 made threes in this game combined in the first quarter.
And good fast break by PHS, but by Pine Forest rather. They can't convert at the end. But coming up with it, the loose ball is Young, or rather House rather. Another three-pointer for Purifoy.
And she was way outside the arc. That's good in the NBA.
10-point lead for Pine Forest, biggest lead of the night. And a foul is on Santiago, or did he call that one rather on Makivia House, 21.
Yep, House, I believe. Well, the thing for PHS, too, you got to weather the storm right now. You mentioned it earlier. Pine Forest isn't going to continue to make 5 threes each quarter.
And that foul on Pine Forest. Asia Stokes in the game here at the start of the second quarter. And back into the lineup for PHS is Janiyah Hall. See, it's Singer and Hall, the two seniors are in there along with Perry. Litchfield is coming out of the game.
A little confusion on who was supposed to come out.
I think they were going to go with 6 for a moment.
Yeah, well.
Baker drives. She's been the best thing PHS has had going. That's her 12th point.
A good job right here on Purifoy.
Good job by Purifoy as well. Lucky will get a chance for a three-point play.
And a good find. Good dish by Purifoy underneath. Getting it to Lucky. Aggressive take. Got it to fall and drew the foul.
So Danielle Lucky at the free throw line, a chance to complete the three-point play. Cannot do it. The lead is still 10. That's Perry off the weave. Baker's had the hot hand for PHS. Perry, she can shoot that shot. On the offensive boards, that was Hall. And converting is Perry.
You know, I think that was a good presence of mind by Hall, realizing that she didn't have a shot. Did a nice job to create one, and now that defense again of PHS.
This is how they started the game. Perry trying to force her way along the baseline. And Baker has the chance.
I mean, you talked about her being a bright spot for PHS. That's 14 for her, and that was a really good take. Knifed her way through traffic.
She has 14. The rest of the Tiger team has 8. And that's a backcourt violation as Pine Forest turns it over. So the lead is down to 6. Pine Forest has led by as many as 10 on a couple of occasions here.
I think if PHS can maintain that defensive intensity, they're going to force more turnovers. To mention it, Pine Forest isn't going to continue to shoot it the way they have, and if they do, and a carry here, but if they do, I mean, they're going to be tough to beat either way. PHS just got to keep up that defensive intensity, and they're going to stay with them.
Janiyah Barnes back into the game wearing 14 for Pine Forest, along with Jadaisha Young, who played really, really well in the first quarter. She had 6 points in that first quarter. Turning it over.
And again, that's one of those unforced turnovers.
The offside offensive board and can't convert. That's Baker. She gets another chance. Check that. That was Shakira Miller. And she's fouled by Janiyah Barnes. So Shakira Miller goes to the line. And swishes the first. Just under 50% from the free throw line this year. Hall comes up with a rebound and scores, so a three-point trip.
It's all by design, right, Dan?
So PHS, three-point trip. They're down by 3. Santiago gets it back out front to Purifoy. And now against the zone PHS goes to, or are they? Well, Singer was chasing her. There was the zone, but she was chasing Purifoy, not giving her much room. And then coming up with a block shot underneath was Hall. And a foul, and going to the line will be Joy Singer.
Well, that was a bailout foul, too, because she got a little too deep under the basket. And that's why you saw that shot hit the bottom side of the rim. That's going to be the second foul on Barnes. One where just got to make sure you stay straight up, try to avoid the contact.
Singer is a good free throw shooter, 71%. And gets them both, and suddenly it's a 1-point ball game. 9-point run for Pine Forest over the last 3 minutes.
And Dan, it started with this pressure on defense.
Purifoy throws that one away.
There's that pressure again. Hall in the right spot, was exactly where she needed to be.
And Hall draws the foul. Fouled by Danielle Lucky along the sideline. So a chance for Hall to give the Tigers the lead if she can hit both free throws. She ties it with the first. 1 out of 2. And we're all tied up at 28. Purifoy decides to back it up. Good decision.
I thought Purifoy did a good job to take control when PHS went on a run earlier.
Santiago can't get the short jumper to go. And Singer. Hall is there to clean it up.
Purifoy did a good job to get back on defense to make that not an easy shot for Singer, but Hall was there to get the putback.
So PHS has the lead for the first time since it was 4-3. And it's now a 12-0 run. Traveling violation, or was it a foul?
I think that was travel.
Travel.
Shift her pivot feet. Shifted her pivot foot.
Well, that's the problem. It was pivot feet,
Yeah,
and you're not allowed to.
You can't do that.
Yep. 3:42 to play. So Pine Forest this time breaks the press. Now what can they do at the other end of it? That's a 2-point attempt, and it's good. It's Tania Barnes. She breaks the run by PHS. That ends a 12-0 run and ties the game. Traveling violation. So we will take a timeout here. 3:15 to play, second quarter. We're all tied up at 30. PHS and Pine Forest on Hill Kelly High School Hoops.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
And we join the game in progress as we rejoin PHS and Pine Forest as they got the jump out of the break. 30-30 tie. Inside, that's Hall. She will give PHS the lead. She has her 7th point. Pine Forest led by 10 on a couple of occasions. PHS forces another turnover.
Well, they're doing an excellent job forcing turnovers in this game, getting extra opportunities.
Baker, that's a 3.
And now they're starting to capitalize on them.
17 points for Nala Baker here in the first half. And it's a 35-30 ball game.
She had 10 in the first quarter. There's still just under 2.5 minutes left in this second quarter.
This is now a 17-2 run.
Remember, Pine Forest had opened up a 10-point lead.
Good job of closing out Singer. Didn't give Purifoy a look. The shots are a little more rushed now for Pine Forest. So if it's not the turnovers, the defense is still affecting what Pine Forest is able to do offensively. Nice move by Baker, avoiding the charge and slashing in for her 19th point.
Doesn't Pine Forest just look like they've slowed a step here?
And that's Lucky, and she draws the foul, spinning to the basket. Nice move. And the foul is on Hall. Her second, Janiyah Hall. And Danielle Lucky will go to the free throw line.
Looking at Pine Forest, they just look a little winded right now.
Big free throws here for Danielle Lucky as Purifoy comes out here in the final minute 42 of the second quarter. And I'm not sure how long she'll be on the bench, because I cannot imagine that Pine Forest is as effective handling the pressure when she's not in there. Perry for three. Off the mark, Lucky, off her hand, out of bounds. Pine Forest is screaming for a foul, but PHS will get the ball. A minute and a half to go. Singer for three. Well, she lined that one up.
Well, we knew she was a three-point shooter. They haven't fallen for her yet from outside. That could be a good sign for her.
Well, as big as the first quarter was for Pine Forest, the second quarter has been for PHS. 40-31, 9-point lead. Santiago out front. Of course, Santiago, a three-year starter. She's playing for the third coach in 3 years. She was a point guard last year. So Purifoy came in. Three-pointer on the way, just off the mark. But offensive rebound pulled down and finally stolen, deflected by Singer. Coming out with it, Perry. Baker has a three-point chance.
Over 20 points in this first half alone for Nala Baker.
And Nala Baker will have a chance as a 74% free throw shooter to complete a three-point play. And Purifoy comes in. So she went out, 7-point game. She comes back in, and it's an 11-point game. She was out for not quite a minute. Long rebound comes off to Purifoy, so it's 42-31. Santiago inside, she goes to Lucky. 37 seconds as PHS comes out with it.
And the thing PHS is doing defensively really good, not allowing many second chance opportunities for Pine Forest.
The shot is put up and no good by Aaliyah Lewis into the ball game. Almost stolen by Baker. She couldn't keep it in bounds. This is a 26-point second quarter for PHS. Santiago finds the open man. That one, the shot's not falling now for Tanaya Barnes. Knocked out of bounds with 5.4 seconds to go. Nice play hustling back defensively by Makivia House. So PHS will try to stretch the lead here in the final 5 seconds of the half. What a second quarter it's been. They go to Baker, spins in the lane, and gets the roll. And that'll end the first half of play. A big second quarter for PHS. 28 points they scored in that quarter. It was a 28-8 quarter for the Tigers. So we've reached the halfway point of the first game of our doubleheader. The girls game, PHS leads by 13. It's 44-31 at the half on Hill Kelly High School Hoops.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
Halftime here, first game of a doubleheader here on Hill Kelly High School Hoops. Each year we do a girls-boys doubleheader. Tonight we're at Pine Forest High School, or Pine Forest hosting PHS. Jim is filling up here. We had, man, do we have two wild first quarters in that game. First quarter was all Pine Forest hitting threes like they're going out of style before PHS came back and ran off a 17-2 run to take this 44-31 lead at the half.
And I think when you look at the PHS run, it really starts with their defense. They did an excellent job forcing turnovers. They did so early on in the first quarter, and then Pine Forest was able to break the press. It looked like they started to wear down a little bit towards the midway point of the second quarter. That's when PHS was again able to force the turnovers and then take advantage.
PHS did two really good things defensively. The turnovers they forced, which we saw very early in the game, first minute or so of the game before Pine Forest sorted that out for a while. But then even after the pressure, when Pine Forest broke the press as the first half moved on, PHS did a terrific job in half-court defense and making the shots, closing out three-point shooters so they didn't get really the clean looks they got in the first quarter, and also making life a little tougher inside on Danielle Lucky, so even when she got the ball in a scoring position, she didn't get a free pass.
And as doing so, they also didn't allow many second chance opportunities at all in that second quarter. So they did a lot of things really well, and it all starts on the defensive end for PHS.
The boys teams are on the floor getting in a little pregame work with a little shooting here at the half, taking advantage of the opportunity they have. And again, the Pine Forest and PHS boys teams will come up in the second game of our doubleheader, roughly 20 minutes or so after the conclusion of our first game. It is halftime here, game one. The PHS girls leading Pine Forest 44-31. And we will have our educator spotlight coming up next. We will have that coming up here on Hill Kelly High School Hoops.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
And back here at Pine Forest, halftime of the first game of our doubleheader. The PHS girls leading Pine Forest 44-31. Pine Forest had a 23-16 lead after one quarter, and PHS went off on a 28-8 second quarter run. It was an impressive performance. We'll see if Chris Godwin and Pine Forest can come back and kind of restore order, get back in this thing in the second half, down by 13.
Yeah, we talked a lot about how good the PHS defense was. Well, when you hold a hot shooting team like Pine Forest to 8 points in a quarter, you've done a lot of things well.
All right, our Educator Spotlight, a feature here on Hill Kelly High School Hoops, sponsored by the University of West Florida. Tonight's Educator Spotlight in our first game is basketball star Belle Bistro.
It's time for another 60 Seconds With, and this time we're with Belle Bistro, who's a senior here on the UWF women's basketball team. So we get to know you a little bit, talk about things that are not necessarily basketball related. Where are you from?
I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I prefer the Gulf Coast. The sand is super powdery and the water's clear and beautiful. I love it here.
So you're here, you're a senior this year. You know, what kind of classes over the course of your academic career? What do you enjoy taking? What are the things that attract you to the course?
Well, I'm criminal justice, so I love taking criminal justice classes, and then I also am into photography, so I try and take some of those, so that's like really fun for me.
A little bit of a creative side?
Yes.
What kind of other things do you like to do away from basketball, away from taking classes?
Well, I like to take pictures of people and scenery around here. It's very pretty, and I also like to thrift. I'm a big thrifter, so I love that.
All right, so we hit some of the shops to kind of see what's happening.
Me and Tony always go thrifting. So.
The things we learned. This has been 60 Seconds with Belle Bistro.
Halftime here, the team's back on the floor getting ready to get going here in the second half, and Pensacola High holding a 44-31 lead over Pine Forest. PHS led by Nala Baker with 23 points, 23 of the 44 points. Nala Baker to lead the way. And little Mama Purifoy, the freshman, has 9 to lead the way for Pine Forest. Second half action coming up. We'll see if Pine Forest can make a run in the second half and close the gap on the Tigers. It's Hill Kelly High School Hoops from Pine Forest.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
All right, team's back on the floor. We're ready to go here in the second half as Pensacola High with a 13-point lead starts the second half with the ball. Perry finds a little room, and following it up and being blocked is Hall, and blocked by Danielle Lucky, but it goes to PHS. So big first few minutes here the second half, and tying up Joy Singer is Purifoy. Nice play by the freshman guard. Big night of high school basketball in and around Pensacola. Big game over at Catholic High tonight. The boys game with the Crusaders hosting Walton. Those two teams unbeaten in district play. If we get some updates from that game, we'll pass them along to you. Purifoy, boy, extending that defensive pressure. Purifoy's runner can't get the roll. And PHS comes back out with it.
She got really close to a double dribble, too.
Jumper along the baseline. Baker can't get that one to go. Purifoy comes out with the rebound, gets it to Santiago. PHS gets back well on defense. But Young might take that shot. She had a hot hand early, or rather House, 21. Knocks the ball loose, goes off PHS or off House. House is the one who deflected it out of bounds.
PHS told us that they do a pretty good job on defense. When the shots aren't falling, that's what keeps them in games. We've seen that very evident in the first half because they stayed in this game even when shots weren't falling in that first quarter.
Perry, Singer against the man-to-man defense of Santiago. Down low in a steal and turning it back over. She just couldn't control it. Purifoy. And out of bounds. Lucky was there to try to corral the defensive rebound, even though she didn't get it. She did harass the two Tigers in a 30-second timeout, so we will keep it right here. With 6:32 to play third quarter, and no one has scored yet in the first minute and a half of the third quarter. Boy, what a far cry that. Each team's been on an 80-point pace at one point. First quarter, it was Pine Forest on the 80-point pace, and then by the time we reached the half, PHS got there with 44.
Well, the thing when you look at it, defense, there's been a lot of really good defense in this game despite the high scoring. That's what's kind of surprising about this. Just a lot of opportunities, a lot of quick shots really on both sides. I thought that last possession, PHS again, or Pine Forest that time doing a pretty good job on defense and not giving PHS the looks.
Well, that was a hallmark of all the Chris Godwin teams. Of course, that team that won the state championship 4 years ago, Brittany Snowden and Ty Purifoy, Demetria Jones. That was a terrific defensive team. And a nice job breaking the press, and assist goes to Lucky, and the basket to Tanaya Barnes.
Well, textbook ball movement right there. Broke the press really well. They did so with Purifoy, and then they just moved the ball around really well and got a good look, which is what you're able to do if you're able to beat the press.
House forces the turnover.
You got to be pretty disciplined offensively to be able to beat the press and still have your offense set up on the other side. But if you do that, you can create some pretty good looks. And that's exactly what they were able to do.
And there you go, down to Lucky. Back out to House. Santiago had a look for a moment, but then they closed out on her. Purifoy will take it. And the threes, after hitting 6 threes in the first half, 5 of them in the first quarter, the threes are not falling for Pine Forest, and there's a blocking foul on Lucky.
Yeah, just 1 in the second quarter for Pine Forest, and that was Purifoy's.
So Nala Baker goes to the line, shooting a couple of free throws. Baker 74%. PHS has hit 4 out of 7 tonight. Baker now has 24. She's averaging 14. 1 out of 2. Pressure on that in the half court by Pine Forest, and we will have a tied up situation, and the ball will stay with PHS. But
well, again, that, you know, I think when you're on defense and you're able to kind of flip the possession arrow by forcing a tie up like that, I always like to see that. And again, it's like storing a turnover for later, and now they get it right there.
Yeah, with Purifoy tying up the driver. Yeah, I know you hear that argument that, that you know, it takes away from defense having the arrow. They want the jump ball, but man, all you do with the jump ball is take the little guy out.
Yep.
You're laying it up, and it is Perry off the turnover.
Well, the other thing, too, it seems like so often somebody's got a dominant player that's able to just win the jump routinely. So if you've got that, well.
And foul's called on Perry. Janiah Perry, that's her second. And going to the line for the Comfort Dental free throw, Janiah Barnes hits the first. Remember, she got off to a pretty good start.
She had 4 in the first quarter, yep.
Gets 1 out of 2. She has 9 points now. Well, again, we're right where we were at the start of the quarter. 13-point PHS lead, blocked by Lucky. Boy, I tell you, she's what a bright future for that sophomore.
Well, she did a great job there because it looked like, look here, looks like she gets by her, but it's easier to actually block that shot from behind when you're not in front of the player with the ball.
But for a young player to block that and not commit the foul with the body is pretty impressive.
Yes, it is.
That's great discipline, and that's just solid fundamental block.
So often you talk to players that are really good at blocking shots, and they'll just tell you it's just instincts. I mean, you can't teach it.
Well, you can, but it's easier if someone's got the instinct to block the shot.
Right.
Just barely beating the 5-second count. Macavia House has the ball out front now for Pine Forest. Need a basket, down 13. Like to make a little run here in the third quarter. Instead, they turn it over. Singer comes up with it, does a nice job getting it to Miller. And she turns it over to converting down there, or not converting, and then finally converting is the gal who started it all, Danielle Lucky. And another steal, this by House, and she draws the foul on Perry. So a couple of big turnovers, good defensive plays by Pine Forest. Perry commits the foul, that's 3 on her. And Pine Forest with a chance to get back into single digits with a basket here. Santiago's knocked loose by Baker, picked up. And a double dribble. That ball was knocked loose, and that's what Allison Davis is complaining about. The ball was knocked loose from Wiggins. She picked it up, put it back on the floor. Down low, Lucky. Triple team tied up. That'll go to PHS, and now Tempers will flare, and Lucky shoves Hall. She's going to get a technical foul for that. And they're calling that a double technical, I believe.
Yeah, and they started shoving. You could see both extend arms there. You can't get away with that.
Well, I didn't see the original shove until the replay. So a double technical.
Well, this is good coaching by Chris Godwin. Getting Danielle Lucky away from that situation to calm her down a little bit. And both of these teams now getting a little breather, and it's a good idea to separate them as tempers flare a little bit right here.
Well, Janiah Hall just picked up her 4th foul with that technical.
And Hall's going to stay in this game.
I wonder if they know she's got 4. They have to if they know she picked up the other technical, the PHS side of that. Knock losing it. Boy, Purifoy is really hounding Nala Baker. And a 3-second call. I'm not sure. We might need to take a timeout. Somebody needs to take a timeout here. We're due a television timeout. So if they don't see us, they're going to go ahead and inbound it. And I think they are going to inbound it. Or are they? Yeah, they're going to go ahead and play ahead. So we'll try to get that timeout in here. We're due a timeout here in the final 3 minutes. And Pine Forest can't get the basket to go as Stokes missed the shot inside after Purifoy broke the press. And now Baker bumped and before the shot attempt. So the shot will not count. And we will try to take a timeout here, and we're sitting up high 5 rows above the floor, so we're not next to the score, so they cannot see us. Try to take the timeout. And a timeout, and we finally get it. That's the hardest timeout I've ever had to call. 2:43 to play third quarter, and it's PHS 47-36 by 11.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
All right, as we rejoin the action here with 2:43 to play in the third quarter, PHS inbounding it to Baker, and that does not go. So Baker, 2 here in the third quarter. Both teams really cooling off here against the defensive pressure. And that pass had absolutely no chance of getting through there. Good defensive pressure by PHS. Also doing a nice job sagging and cutting off passing lanes in the lane.
Right now, Pine Forest doing a good job.
And a rebound out of bounds to Pine Forest with 2:04 to go. And again, Pine Forest had a couple of possessions, chance to get it into a single-digit lead. They'd like to make a little bit of a run here at the end of the third quarter and make this a little more manageable, and that's not the way to get it done. As Tania Barnes overshooting Danielle Lucky. So now 2 minutes on the button as PHS inbounds it. Foul on Santiago. At 2 on Santiago. We're going to see the ball in her hands a lot. Baker, she draws the foul from Lucky.
Well, and rightfully so. She's got 24 points in this game.
Well, she's not going to turn it over a lot. .25. One out of 2, 48-36. Pine Forest. Santiago will go to the line to shoot 2.
Well, that's some good ball handling there by Santiago. Heard the term ankle breaker. That's a pretty good ankle breaking move there to get to the basket.
I believe they call that on Amani Wiggins. 22, I think, is one called for the foul. Packed house here, the crowd arriving. Second game of our doubleheader coming up in the neighborhood of 20 minutes after the conclusion of this one. PHS and Pine Forest from Pine Forest as Santiago hits the free throw. The Eagles 3 for 6 from the line tonight. Rebound of the second comes off to PHS. It was Miller with the rebound. And now she brings it into the front court and travels.
Boy, that defense, again, that full court pressure. Both of these teams have done a really good job in the full court. Right there, another example. Forcing a turnover, force that travel.
PHS has been held to 4 points here in the third quarter, but Pine Forest with just 5, so both teams defensively have really put the clamps down, and the turnover is also very much a factor.
Right now, I think they're trying to make sure that the points on the board are right at the request of Chris Godwin. Well, I think a couple of things they want to check. I think they want to check the fouls in this quarter and the points as well.
Well, I have 48-37 is what I have, because they just made a free throw. It should be 48-37. The free throw, she made the first of 2, and they do. They put the 37 up there. So 11-point ball game. Santiago against pressure from Baker, and a travel again.
Yep. Leaned in, and when she went to lean, that pivot foot went with her. You mentioned, see a lot of Baker taking care of the basketball.
And a traveling violation. They put some pressure on Janae Bryant in the ball game.
I want to say that is 3 consecutive travels we've seen. That's 2 on PHS and then 1 on Pine Forest, if I'm not mistaken.
Santiago, they've got a 3-on-2. And putting it up and in and converting is Samaya Wingfield. First we've heard from her, and she gets it down to 8 points. Check that. 9 points, 48-39. Baker draws the foul. She'll go to the line. And that foul is on Wingfield. "57 seconds to play here in the third quarter."
Baker just does everything so well.
And hit both free throws. That's a big trip to the line for PHS as they get the lead back up to 11 here in the final minute of the third quarter. Foul in the backcourt.
I think they got that one on Baker.
Purifoy has it out front. Baker picks her up. House back to Purifoy. They extend that zone, and Purifoy takes it.
Wow. I mean, we really didn't see her do that much, really, in the first half at all.
Well, they were packing it in before they got that zone stretched out as they put a little pressure on the perimeter, and she had a lane. And Wingfield picks up two quick fouls here.
And that one, I really think that was a great shot that Purifoy created. It opened up a little bit for her, but for the most part, she made that happen. Boy, if you were to sit here and watch this game, there's no way you would look at the way Purifoy plays and think, yeah, she's a freshman. No shot.
No. Shakira Miller shoots those two-handed, makes 1 out of 2. And a turnover right before the quarter, and a foul, third foul on Samaya Wingfield after they turn the ball over in the backcourt again. So she picks up 3 quick fouls. She's only been in a couple of minutes. Had that basket right off the bat. And then 3 fouls on her, and going back to the line is Baker. Looking for her 29th point. Nala Baker. How do you like that? You have someone who comes in, moves in. She's a state champion. She's just a junior.
Yeah.
And she can do this. That's a pretty good deal for PHS. She really is terrific. 29 points for Baker, and the lead's back up to 12.
And she's just so poised out there.
Landed up at the buzzer. Here's Tanaya Barnes.
Great dish underneath. Just dropped it off for Barnes. Nice finish. Big points before the end of the quarter.
All right, 53-43. 8 minutes of basketball left to play. Pine Forest looking for a run to get back in it here on Hill Kelly High School Hoops.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
8 minutes of basketball left to play, and Pine Forest trimmed the 13-point halftime lead to 10. Now trying to make another run here. PHS starts the fourth quarter with the ball. Singer loses the handle. Was it deflected? It was not. Pine Forest gets the turnover to start the fourth quarter.
Well, you decide.
I don't think Santiago got a hand on it.
No.
I don't think she got the last hand on it.
No. Well, that's the key.
Yep. So, important possessions here early in the fourth quarter for Pine Forest as they try to get something going.
Well, they showed in the first quarter they can score in bunches if need be, and they can knock down the three.
Purifoy.
That gets you
a start.
That helps you get back in it in a hurry.
That is the first three-pointer for Pine Forest since early in the second quarter. Remember, they had 5 of them in the first quarter. Santiago gets it ahead to Lucky. And she will go to the line, drawing the foul from Shakira Miller. So it's exactly the start of the quarter that Pine Forest was looking for. A three-pointer, now a chance to get 2 at the line.
A chance to cut that lead in the half. Always nice when you can get some untimed points, too.
I tell you what, the Bob Tyler replay, I think Pine Forest really got a break because not that it was a bad call, she was fouled, but I think Lucky was losing the ball before she was fouled. I'm not sure she would have controlled that had she not been fouled. 1 out of 2. So it's a 4-0 start to the quarter, and we have a 6-point ball game.
And they continue to dial up the pressure, which has given PHS some trouble.
Wiggins threw it away, but she was fouled on the pass. And fouled by Purifoy. Is that right? Is that Lil Mama's first foul?
First foul, yeah.
Wow. So we're 1 minute into the fourth quarter, and Pine Forest has cut the lead by 4. Wiggins at the free throw line. Well, she swished that one. She's a 41% free throw shooter this year. 9 for 22. Got 1 out of 2. Trying to go to Lucky and couldn't control it. Now Wiggins. Rebound to Santiago.
Good job to get a hand up, but not foul.
Purifoy for 3. Rebound pulled away by PHS ahead to Wiggins. Loses the handle, knocked loose. Young is the one who created that turnover, and then a travel by Santiago. Jadesha Young did a nice job to force the turnover, and then the Eagles can't take advantage.
And in the process of that travel, Chris Godwin was saying, slow things down. Game was getting a little out of control. A lot of back and forth. Wanted her team to slow it down before the message could get delivered. They traveled.
Well, it's a young team. 60% of your roster is sophomores and freshmen. And there's a travel.
That was just that little hand in there by Santiago that I think kind of led to that travel. Just threw her off enough. Take a look. Santiago's going to reach in here. Just get a little hand in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I thought Jadesha Young cut her off, 22, but Santiago 12 did reach in. And that ball was out of bounds to Pine Forest. Going down on the floor, going down hard was Tanaya Barnes. She thought she was fouled, trying to buy a foul.
Thought she had hit a wet spot there on the floor. Feet went out from under. I just don't know. I thought for sure that had gone off of Pine Forest.
Timeout on the floor. We'll take a timeout. 6:22 to play, fourth quarter. It's a 7-point PHS lead.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
Pine Forest will inbound the ball, trailing by 7 as we get back into play here. 6:22 to play in the fourth quarter. Pine Forest has spent the entire second half trying to get back in it. Purifoy shut off there by Miller. Not there. Suddenly she has 17, and it's a 4-point game.
5 made threes for Purifoy.
Baker. Rebound comes off to Lucky. Santiago ahead. And laying it up and in. Young.
Well,
2-point game. And a PHS turnover. And just like that, after trailing by 13 late in the third quarter, the Pine Forest Eagles have a chance to tie it.
and the lid is about to come off this building. I mean, they are going nuts.
Santiago with the ball in her hands. That gives Purifoy a chance to find her spot on the wing. Almost threw it away. Nice save there by Jadesha Young. Purifoy has a look.
That would have done it too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have. It didn't look good leaving her hand, too.
Yeah, everybody in that first section of seats thought it was going in.
The PHS really needs to slow it down.
Well, they need to go back to what they were doing earlier. They're forcing those turnovers. I'm not saying they've let up on the gas defensively. They're not forcing turnovers like they were earlier, but a lot of that has to do with you got to make some shots.
Baker, that might have been blocked. It might. Well, Lucky did not. Apparently, I thought Lucky might have gotten a hand on it. But Baker comes up empty. 4:57 to play, and again, Pine Forest a second chance to get a tying basket.
And they want to go. I think the tempo that Pine Forest is running their offense is giving PHS some trouble. They forced the turnover.
Baker, Singer forced the turnover. Baker will go to the line as Purifoy commits the foul.
Just a second on her, so she's not in foul trouble right now. Disrupt the rhythm of this game a little bit. And the clock was going. They're a little slow getting the clock stopped, so they're going to put 10 seconds back up.
And Nala Baker at the free throw line. She's looking for her 30th point. Clock corrected at 4:40 and looking for her 30th point on this free throw.
Some kind of night.
She is 7 for 10 from the line with that last free throw. Off Pensacola High to Pine Forest, so she gets 1 out of 2, and the lead is back to 3. Last tie we had in this game was at 30. It was right at the 3:30 mark of the second quarter. And remember, that was at the tail end of that 12-0 PHS run.
This game just has the feel if Pine Forest is able to get it tied, I don't know that they're going to let it slip away from them.
Three-pointer on the way, no good. That was thrown up there by Jadesha Young, and a foul at that end of the court by Pine Forest, and Young picks herself up after committing the foul.
That might be 5 on her.
I have 5 on Jadesha Young.
Yeah. So do I, and she's out of the game.
So Jadacia Young fouls out with her 5th foul with 4:19 to play in the 4th quarter. And here she came flashing in as she fouls Hall.
She knew it too, didn't she?
So Young. Fouls out with 8 points. And Hall steps to the line and calmly hits the free throw. So PHS has weathered that initial storm and held Pine Forest at arm's length here. But still a long way to go. 4:19 to go. It's now a 5-point ball game. So 3 free throws, 3 out of 4 free throws by PHS get the lead back up to 5. Santiago shut off there by Miller. Or check that, it was Bryant, Janae Bryant over there.
Well, Pine Forest will get themselves in trouble if they keep thinking that they need to make threes. They don't. Still a long ways to go in this game.
Of course, we saw early when they hit the threes early, but again, if you miss a couple in a row, your legs are gone. And that's often a futile pursuit.
Well, especially if you're not getting the offensive boards.
Santiago hits the free throw.
Missed threes often end up in long rebounds that go to the other way.
Offensive rebound. And can't get it to go. Great effort by Tanaya Barnes. It's still a 4-point Tiger lead. Going for the steal was Barnes again. And that leaves Miller open.
You know, I kind of thought for a moment Miller should have just taken that short little baseline bunny. Good idea to use the dribble.
Pine Forest can't get it to go, and Miller comes out with it. Shakira Miller with a rebound, gets it to Joyce Singer, and she's fouled by Purifoy in the backcourt with 3:25 to play.
All 3 of her fouls in this 4th quarter. Again, each foul now for Pine Forest, you keep putting PHS at the free throw line with 2 free throws.
PHS is 11 for 16 from the free throw line in the 2nd half. And Singer's a good free throw shooter. Well, it's first game of our doubleheader here at Pine Forest. I'll tell you one thing this Pine Forest rally has done is it's gotten the crowd into it. So we should have a lot of excitement and electricity in this building in the 2nd game of our doubleheader. As Purifoy draws the foul. And that foul is on Shakira Miller. 3:20 to go. Purifoy will go to the line.
Freshman captain really doing a good job in this 4th quarter. That's 8 points in this quarter.
Freshman captain, Chris Godwin says she usually lets the team vote on the captain, but she was coming in and she had a bunch of players she didn't know. She knew Purifoy from the family, from coaching her sister, but she knew what kind of player she was and what kind of leader she could be, and that's going to be a, do you call 3-second violation? Is that what that was?
Well,
I believe so.
It kind of looked like it, didn't it?
Yep, sure did.
Didn't think they had the ball 3 seconds.
Nails on the wing. If she was camped out inside, they're saying Hall was camped out inside, and Pine Forest converts.
It's Purifoy again, this time inside. Some traffic.
It's a 3-point ball game with 2:50 to play. PHS breaks the press, but can't convert. That's a big offensive rebound, though, for Hall. The key here for Pine Forest is to put some pressure on without committing the foul if they can. 2:33 to play. PHS takes a timeout, and we will keep it right here with 2:33 to play, and PHS hanging on to a 3-point lead.
Well, you talk about Pine Forest putting pressure on without fouling. That's what they did that trip down the floor right there. They did an excellent job of creating some pressure, and as such, they forced PHS to use the timeout because they were doing a lot of work inside to keep them from getting an opportunity, and as a result, they had to use the timeout.
Ty Purifoy has 21 points, 12 of them here in the second half. And 10 of them in the fourth quarter. 10 of her 21 in the fourth quarter, Tommy.
That's remarkable. Well, that's a freshman knowing that she's got to step up, and she's done a nice job to take control of this game in the fourth quarter and help get Pine Forest right back in it.
One more game on our Hill Kelly High School hoops schedule next Friday night. We're going back to Gulf Breeze for Catholic and Gulf Breeze. Had so much fun there last year with the student bodies as much as the two fine teams that will be on the floor. And again, both Catholic and Gulf Breeze, terrific ball clubs. We'll be back at next Friday night, Catholic and Gulf Breeze, 7:30 here on WFGX. PHS inbounding with 2.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Knocked loose and out of bounds. Purifoy almost came up with a steal.
But again, if they get a steal, they don't need the three. This is a big possession for PHS. You'd like to keep it at 2 possessions.
And they get the steal. Again, that's House, Macavia House, and she will back it up. Good move by House. Purifoy backs it up for the long 3. Lucky on the boards. Danielle Lucky has a chance to tie the ball game. (60-60). The last tie we had, it was 30-30. Baker, she's been quiet here in the second half. Purifoy, will she back it up? Not on your life. Lucky will go to the line with a chance to give the Eagles the lead.
Well, they are packed in tight across the way, and they are fired up in the stands.
It is a 17-7 fourth quarter for Pine Forest.
Pretty good little opening act to our doubleheader tonight.
Lucky gives the Eagles their first lead since it was 28-27. About 4 minutes to go in the second quarter. 1:57 to go, timeout on the floor. 1:57, Pine Forest has come all the way back from 13 down at the half, 10 down at the start of the quarter, and they have taken a 2-point lead with 1:57 to play.
I mean, just an excellent job to fight back in this game. And it has been really impressive to see the way this young Pine Forest team has battled. But they've got it done on both sides of the ball. I mean, we talked about PHS, the defense leading to offense, and that's what allowed PHS to go on their run in the second quarter. That's been exactly what it has been for Pine Forest in this fourth quarter. It has been a back and forth game, and we are set up for a riveting finish.
As we mentioned, Nyla Baker a little quieter here in the fourth quarter. She has just the free throw in the fourth quarter. 23 points at the half. She has 30. She had 29 after 3 quarters. Allison Davis has had her say with her team. And she hopes the experience she has on the floor. There's one of her 2 seniors right there, Janiyah Hall. Against that full court 2-2-1 pressure. And they break the press. Now can they make them pay at the other end of it? Pine Forest does a nice job getting back defensively, but the 3-pointer by Baker.
Well, you said she only had 1 in this fourth quarter. She was quick to answer that.
Pine Forest are now down 1. 3-pointer on the way. Can't get the bounce with Santiago. gets the rebound, and she draws the foul. Well, and now this is fun.
Oh, goodness. We've had some fun ones this season, haven't we?
5 lead changes in this game. And now a second free throw with a chance to give us our 4th tie. And she needed a roll, but she got it. 1:25 to play.
At every inch of that rim.
Baker has the ball in her hands when it matters most. Perry. Hall and Singer, the 2 seniors out there. That's Singer. And Lucky throws it away right back to Baker. And then blocks the shot.
That's just doing it all.
And they get it to Purifoy, who will set it up. We're all tied at 63 as we enter the final minute.
A lot of poise on the floor right now, both sides.
Yeah, Santiago was shut off by the defense and didn't try to force it. 35 seconds ago, Singer commits the foul.
Yeah,
28 feet away from the basket.
That's exactly right. She didn't need to do that. Reached in. That's a bailout. And with 33 seconds left in this game, you send them to the free throw line for a chance to put them up.
Macavia House at the free throw line. Gives Pine Forest the lead.
So, big moment for a freshman, isn't it?
How about that? One out of 2. It's a 1-point ball game. Rebound comes off to Lucky after the missed shot by Shakira Miller. Lucky's fouled in the backcourt, and she will go to the line.
Well, the thing is with PHS on that possession, there's a lot of shooters that are willing to take a shot late. I don't think that's the look they wanted.
The Pine Forest, about a week ago, had Washington. They scored a basket to take a 2-point lead on Washington. And of course, Jayla Roberts threw in about a 60-footer at the buzzer to beat them. They're locked up in another tight one with another top rival.
Well, that first miss means a make here could set us up for some bonus basketball.
Missed them both. But their offensive rebound, Purifoy comes up with it, gets it to Santiago. They've got a foul, and Santiago will go to the line with 6 seconds to go. Purifoy coming up with the ball.
Look at that in the corner. Did a great job to just rip it away from Baker.
Or was that House in the corner, 21? I couldn't see the number from our vantage point. It was House.
It was definitely Purifoy that got the basketball in the corner.
Santiago rings it in and out. That's 3.
That was 3 straight missed free throws.
Yep. Actually, that's 4 now.
Yeah.
We missed one just prior to that. It's a big make. Timeout, PHS with 3 seconds to go. Well, Pine Forest was here a week ago. A 2-point lead in the final 2 or 3 seconds. It was 2 seconds against Washington. And Washington inbounded it to the great Jayla Roberts, and she threw it in from about 65 feet, well into the backcourt, banked it in. So they're in that position again.
Well, I think they're going to put some time back on the clock, too.
Well,
I believe that's what they're discussing right now, is putting some time back on. I know. That looks like they've got.
It's 5.4 now, and they're not quite. It's Troy Robinson, the referee, and Tim DeBruler and Thomas Young. Well, I tell you, this has been a tough game to call.
Yes, it has.
And I think they've done a really good job because the defense has been so physical on both sides. You don't want to make it a steady parade to the free throw line. At the same time, you can't let it, get out of hand. It's been a tough game to call. I think they've done a nice job.
Yeah, they have. It has been very difficult, but they're trying to get some more time on the clock. But that seems like the ultimate struggle right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find.
I think he said 4.6 is what he's looking for.
Well, they're still going at 5-2, and then they kind of run it a little bit if they can. 5-7, that's what he wanted, 5-7. So this is a different situation than last week at Washington when it was just 2 seconds on the clock. And they just inbounded it, and hey, if you can throw it in from 65 feet, more power to you, and they did. But now with 5.7 seconds to go, PHS takes a 30-second timeout. Now you've got time, not a lot of time, but you've got time to get it into the front court and get a decent shot off.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Got to get a look. But that defense for Pine Forest has been so good. However, you're in the double bonus situation right now. You foul, you give them a chance at the free throw line to make both free throws. So it's a tough spot right now defensively if you're Pine Forest. You've just got to make sure you play smart, sound defense and clean defense. Cannot foul.
Nala Baker, number 11, with 33 points. She hit that big three that gave PHS the lead after Pine Forest had come all the way back. Nala pushing off in the backcourt. They inbound it in the backcourt. Perry throws it, and it's stolen, and that'll do it for Pine Forest as they run off the final few seconds. And Pine Forest has beaten PHS in a thriller, 65-63, and that's just the first game of our doubleheader. This place is going nuts. Well, and we will present a trophy here in a moment here as Pine Forest gets a big win, 65-63.
Well, and you can see right there, they were trying to get it in Nala Baker's hands at the end. That pass just went a little too far for her, let her too much. And as a result, Pine Forest comes away with a big win.
All right, we're going to be back to hand out the trophy here in just a second on the postgame show as Pine Forest wins it by 2. We'll be back with the postgame show, and don't forget our second game of our doubleheader coming up in about 15 to 20 minutes.
You're watching Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram High School Hoops, presented by Comfort Dental.
Well, we have started our doubleheader with quite an opening act as the Pine Forest ladies have knocked off Pensacola High in a thriller, 65-63, coming from 13 points down at the half to do it.
Yeah, and one of the things we kind of questioned early on was how much energy would Pine Forest have? Turns out they had enough to finish this one off.
And that was a tough, that certainly was tough to do, and a tremendous performance. Chris Godwin, come on in here and accept a trophy on behalf of the Eagles. There you go.
Congratulations on behalf of Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram and WFGX 35 High School Hoops. Congratulations on the win.
Chris. Well, we're going to defer. Coming down the stretch, I mean, you're down 13, you make a little bit of inroads in the third quarter, but you come out, you get the great start to the fourth quarter. What was the key to you guys in the fourth quarter?
Just keep telling them they need to play together, and this was their last game for the end of the season to play together tonight. This is it. This is a home court. It's all I keep saying to them. I'm yelling at them. I love them, but man, they get my nerves sometimes and make me sweat. But they came out. They did a great job tonight.
Very young team, no seniors here, 4 sophomores, 2 freshmen, and you've watched this team grow up. You had the game at Washington that got away on a miracle shot at the end. Similar type of game here, and you closed it out. And really, you did enough to close out both games. So how has this team really grown?
Because they're peaking at the right time. And this is when we want them to, right at district times. And, I mean, with a great crowd like this, television, I mean, they did a wonderful job. I'm so proud of them.
Little mama comes up big for you down there. What does she mean to you?
I don't know. When I keep telling them not to shoot and then she hits and you can't say, don't shoot. If they're in it, if they're going, you got to let them go. And that's what they did. And they finally tonight got together on the court together and had a big growth moment, just talking to one another without me just yelling at them and getting on them.
Let me ask you, because, and Little Mama, nobody calls you Tanaja, right? If they don't even know your name, their name's Tanaja, by the way. So, Little Mama, you came up with a big game, but you had to come up with big plays in the fourth quarter. So from your perspective, what were you trying to do? What was most important for you to get back into this game?
I was just trying to get my team involved. I realized half of my shots not gonna fall, and if it ain't gonna fall for me, I gotta make something happen for my team. So we all come together, talk about what we can do, so we can score.
What's a win like this mean to you? You know, it was a heartbreaker against Washington a week ago. This is a tough game against a big opponent, a rival, and a terrific team. So what's a win like this mean to you?
It feels great to win my team, my coach. It's just great and all, ready to go in the districts with a win.
Well, congratulations. You put on a great show. Congratulations. Pine Forest winning the first game of our doubleheader, 65-63. The boys' game is coming up. You are on Hill Kelly High School Hoops. They've got a tough act to follow.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to live up to this one. Should be a fun one. If it's half as good as this game, we're in for a treat.
All righty, one more game coming up here as Pine Forest and PHS. The boys' game is coming up in a few minutes here on Hill Kelly High School Hoops. The first game, the Pine Forest women knocking off PHS 65-63 in a thriller.